Hi, my name is Ingrid, and I actually have a kindergartner and a preschooler. So I'm very new to this, but when I was pregnant with these children, I was actually considering going to another state. We looked at other states to live because of how poorly, I guess, what has been ranked in the past. I am a product of Florida Public School in Miami. So I'm happy that we have moved up the ranks. I'm happy that we have accepted national standards. I think that we should be striving for the best. I agree with some of the other people who've spoken that we need to be placing a bigger emphasis on technology and science from the earliest levels. Like my kindergartner is interested in nature and chemistry, and I don't understand why the only thing that's really being emphasized and taught to these children is reading, writing, and math, which I understand they need a foundation we have to do and try to bring everybody to the same level. Somebody else also mentioned that kids are being over-tested. My kindergartner was tested at least 3 or 4 times. That seems like a lot for a 5-year-old, 6-year-old to be tested that frequently. And I know that I'm on the PTA, I'm also on the staff committee, the school advisory committee. So I know that they are kind of trying to target and deal with the children that are having trouble now in kindergarten so that they are ready for this 3rd grade FCAT that I keep hearing about. So that's good. I'm fine with standards, I'm fine with accountability, I'm fine with bringing Florida into the 21st century. I just don't think that the teachers, the students, other parents have appreciated the middle of the school year. I remember December 18th. I remember that December SAC meeting where it was like, oh, surprise, we're going to be doing these new standards. And as a parent, I was like, what standards? That's not fair. You're talking about involving parents from the earliest level, encouraging us to be advocates for our children, being educated about our children, being involved. I am involved, I am educated, I know how to use the internet, I looked up all this stuff, but I am not the norm. We are not the norm. Most parents don't have the time, don't have the knowledge, don't know where to look, and if it wasn't for emails that I'm shooting out, hey, there's these new standards, they had no clue about this. So what is your office doing to educate students, to educate teachers? What are you doing to support the teachers to get them ready for this? I feel like it was sprung upon them without giving them the tools to actually do anything about it. And we were talking on the way here about how the FCAT assessment in the fall was done based on old numbers. So I just think that there's, these standards and these ideals, which are great, but then there's this, groundwork stuff that's not being done at the school level and with educating the parents.
So August, 300 teachers met for a week to work on standards for reading and work on standard changes for math. That was August before school started. School districts and superintendents recommended people for us to use, so school districts were in fact aware that that was going to take place. In the fall, we had superintendents, I don't think the one from here was on board. We had superintendents, business leaders, community members, and nonprofit executives get together early fall to have a conversation. On the DOE website, we actually identified what we're going to do and how the standards were changing. So the December 18th vote it was a vote. So you have 2 more Fridays of those return. So there, in fact, was communication. Is there perfect communication? I'm sure there is, we're just not there yet. But I shared with the reporter when the question was raised, this isn't a new revelation. Yeah. It's a new revelation, but not a new message that we were raising standards. But I can also understand that for a decade, we didn't raise them as high as we can. So I can understand the shock. Part of my being here now isn't to defend the FCAT. I was actually having a conversation about the FCAT before results had come out. Part of what I'm doing is what I said in August. Look, listen, and learn. I have a board member who lives here. I want to make sure I came to her community. I've had a chance to go to a community, Duval. I have another board member there. I need to have John Paget set up something in the Keys. I haven't had a chance to go to that part of Florida. So we can surely do a better job. But again, new revelation, not a new message. For next year, we can do a better job on that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have a problem with the test as a diagnostic tool either. I just have some comments on using it, the way the results are being used. One of them, this doesn't affect me at the moment, but you counting the EOC as 30% of the grade we talk about having our students be competitive with other states. If they're penalized because their teacher didn't teach them, or not for teachers, I'm actually at FAU to become a teacher, but I just think that you're making them non-competitive. What if they have test anxiety and they bomb that and they get an F and they retake it and that's fine, but it's part of their grade. So now they had A's, but they get a B, and now they're not competitive because they wanted to go to Harvard or MIT or wherever, and now that 30% went towards their grade. So that's one of my points. I like it as a diagnostic tool. I have no problem with needing to pass it to say that you made it, you mastered it, but I think counting it as part of their grade penalizes them for something that may or may not have been in their control. With that, my daughter's on online algebra. Well, this goes into how the schools use the FCAT grades. Like the boy that played the saxophone, when you talked about how wonderful it was that we have the school and he learned that, and that's a great gift that he has, and he got that from the high school. If he scored a 2 on the FCAT, he wouldn't be allowed to learn to play that sax. That's a problem. That is a huge problem. If he got 2 2s, he'd be in remedial reading and in grade level reading. He'd be in remedial math and in regular math. He wouldn't have time to take that class. And that might be the thing that he's going to do for his future. He might be the Clarence, the E Street guy.
Clemens.
So I just think, yeah, or Whitman. So I think that's a problem how high schools are using that. My home high school, which my child's not going near, and it's called a good high school, you have to score certain things on the FCAT in order to get placed into AP or honors classes. Now, my daughter took the ACT as a 7th grader through the Duke Tip Scholar. She got a 3 on the 7th grade FCAT, so didn't get placed into algebra and wouldn't get placed into classes in high school, but yet you just told me when you listed the ACT, she could graduate from high school now with what she scored. So I just think there's a problem. I think maybe the state needs to talk to high schools about using these grades as the only tool to put them in. Now, if they go to a Title I school, they're all put in. But if they go to the good high school, like she was saying, the bottom 25% would include grades. So they're called bottom so they don't get the high classes, but they should still be in them. And we should be challenging our students. I mean, basically, my high school basically said, no, honey, don't try so hard. You don't try the honors class, look at the 3. No, honey, it's not for you. I mean, that's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. So, on that, my daughter did not get placed in algebra because of her test, so she took the ACT and got a scholarship to the Duke Summer Program off her math score, and I said, as the involved parent, something is wrong here. As the involved parent, I don't know why. That's fine and dandy. She's going to finish in July, and then she's going to get this camp that she got a scholarship to. So Palm Beach County is having an EOC summer testing while she's at this camp. There's no opportunity for her to take that EOC until January, and she'll already have half the geometry done. So that's also a problem. My recommended solution is if parents could opt, like when we take the teacher test or contractor test, you go to a place that the county and the government have said is secure, you show your ID, and you take your test. If parents could have the option to be able to pay for something like that, even if the state can pay for it, and I know there's always equity issues with that, but if you could have the option of somehow taking it as a secure location for those kids who fall in between the timings. So,
Good idea.
That's a very good idea.
it would be, and my last one also doesn't affect me, but for the writing, the topics I heard were a little bizarre this year for the writing, and why can't you give them, like, when you take the teacher test, you get 3 choices. Why not give them choices so that they can write what they feel most comfortable with, and the odds of them connecting with the
I want to
subject
talk to you.
would be greater.
I'm gonna bring up the stuff. That's a
And
local
then on
thing.
the MCAT thing, being an involved parent, I was at a school that was considered the best. I mean, they scored the best On the FCAT, I didn't think my child was learning. I pulled them out and put them in a school that is a Title I school and is lower, but my child says every day, I'm learning. So when you use them to grade something, the school is sitting there thinking they're all like wonderful. They're not teaching the kid. I said, if you want to get a 5 on the FCAT, go to that school. But if you want to learn, I would go somewhere. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Writing is 100 points of the FCAT. Your child would not find herself not going to Harvard or MIT because of that score. We give it in the 4th, 8th, and 10th grade.
So you wouldn't get it because you wouldn't be allowed to take honors in AP classes, so you would
Oh, okay.
finish it with the other people.
Okay.
I didn't mean by the extent.
Okay. Your suggestion on the intermediate part of that, Adam?
I'll just interject with that, as a parent who's been there. Most schools, most guidance counselors, most principals, if that's a situation and you advocate, they will give, if there's a space in that class, they will give your child that opportunity. If it's not, then it could be that principal or that guidance counselor for that school.
How do you rectify that? Do you have that principal?
You know what, I don't really have that answer, but it's not, that would appear to be a generalized statement, I just have to say for a fact that I know.
Online, it's just the best
And we have a principal here who I think would tell you just to test that. One test alone. As far as a class.
And you have high schools that are doing that. If I have a child with an 8th grade that is very student, that doesn't feel a straight A's and she's there forever. She has not decided. She could be a 5, it could be a 3. That's what the day, she has a library, she doesn't. So our local high school then made a statement where they brought all the parents in and said, excuse me, you need to have these certifications.
Let her talk, we'll talk after. We can talk. Okay.
Your last question.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jen Martinez, your Palm Beach County Council PTA President. I would like to thank the Commissioner and Ms. Reingold for coming, and Dr. McKee for offering this wonderful school. Thank you, parents, teachers, and community members for coming to show your support. It truly does take a village, and together we can continue to advocate for every child with one voice. I just have a few notes I would like to share. The first one is the National PTA Policy for Assessment and Testing, which is National PTA believes that valid assessment does not consist of only a single test score and that at no time should a single test be considered the student's academic or work future. Someone had mentioned earlier about the FCAT and NRT. At one time we were taking votes. I believe due to budget cuts, the NRT was eliminated. Whether you can have the exceptions, like you mentioned earlier, which I was actually a mentor at a school and helped someone take those exceptions. They were able to move on. It is good. Still, the pressure that these students, our children, are feeling up to and including the day before and the day of to take these tests, whether there's exceptions or not, is just too much pressure, especially at an elementary grade school level. You had mentioned earlier that you were aware of some of the districts either creating resolutions or motioning for FCAT reform. I'm sure you are aware that Palm Beach County is one of them. I do have a resolution here. We've heard a lot tonight about critical thinking, but FCAT, other than FCAT rights, is still in the bubble. How is that really critical thinking? We always hear teaching to the test. But if truly teachers are given the standards to teach, will the standards actually come when they take the test? And how as parents can we advocate when we hear, well, I can't teach that because I'm teaching to the test. But as you said earlier, they're given the standards. So if truly teaching is the standards, isn't it one and the same? So we shouldn't be hearing, I teach to the test? Just a question. And you also mentioned earlier, mentioned Grace to the top. Palm Beach County does not participate in this to the top. Thank you very much.